the 50s basically exists a population registry which is managed according to a specific law, and in Israel we have a mandatory ID card which this registry is used in order to issue this ID card. This, since I don't know since when it is computerized, but at least since the 90s, this project of managing these databases was outsourced to HP Israel, or used to be Digital Israel in the beginning. This registry is used for various identity authentication tasks by government offices, as well as private sector entities that are able to do queries to this registry with an API that developed by HP. There were, I don't know if call it partial leaks, but there were not specific leaks of this registry, but you could find up to when our story begins, some lists that were mainly based on the voters' book, or every vote, every 4 years there is the list of the voters, of the potential voters, is distributed to the parties, and there were some leaks of this list. But in 2007, and in that sense I want to pass the mic to Ariel. A few words about Ariel. Ariel is an investigation, our criminal investigation department, and following the discussion of this previous session, he is a technologist, a lawyer and technologist that came to ILITA to become an investigator. And he was one of the major participants in this investigation. So in 2007, the Israeli public sees death.
Okay, so as you can see, this is the Israeli version for breach notification. After the database has been breached, and wait a second. No. After the database has been breached, the first time people know about this is when this website is being launched with a lot of noise by this guy that refers to himself as Ari, and he, in a long manifest, explains that in 2007 he got a full version of a database that was stolen from the government, and he was eager to publish the database. And this text, as you can see, is very offensive and mocks the inability of the authorities to deal with the problem. And like you see, as it opens, he explicitly states, "You thought your details confidential? Well, think again. I'm going to reveal all the information that is available and managed by the state and have it accessible for all of you." And this is how this affair starts. The next phrase he says is what anybody knows about you and what you can find on anybody else, which is actually a short description of the application which is being uploaded and referenced from this website. The program, or the software package, is called Agron, which in Hebrew means something like the full repository of people. The Agron is actually a standalone 2 gigabytes file, which was programmed by a very talented programmer. And in the beginning it was supposed to be encrypted. And the programmer, the encryption mechanism works in a way that picks the MAC address out of the hard drive of every standalone machine that it's being installed in, and then it generates code, and the programmer intended that this code will be handed to him, and he will generate the corresponding code for opening the application. But since the application was so successful, this defense mechanism was hacked very, very soon. And according to what Ari says in his manuscript, he found a hacked version of the software and uploaded the website. So this is the snapshot of the application. As you can see, this is a list of 9.2 million people, Israeli civilians. Just the recent head count of the Israeli population is around 7 million people, and the number of 9.2 is because there are around 1.5 million people who are deceased, and people who were born in Israel but left the country. So this has the entire database and the most accurate data that relates to every person in the world that has an Israeli identification identification number. Every record of all the 9.2 million has reached 29 fields of information, like trivial fields like name, surname, birth date, etc., and far more complex fields like ID number of the father, ID number of the mother, previous names, a number of kids, and so on and so forth. On the top right-hand side, you can see a quick search text box. So if you're looking for anybody specific, you just put the, let's say, ID number and click enter, and immediately you get the record of the person you're looking for. On the top left-hand side, and this is the actual strength of this program, you have what is called a smart screening mechanism, which allows a very, very sophisticated search engine that actually takes into account all of the criteria, all of the fields within the database. So, for example, I can ask the database or the search mechanism to get me all the women which are divorced and live in Tel Aviv and have at least 2 kids between the ages of 25 and 28. And then I click enter and I get a list of 7 matching records, for instance. If you click the record, you have like a summary of the person you're looking for. You have the name, the surname, the birth date, the zip code, the telephone number, the marital status, the gender, the age, the country of birth, and at the bottom you can see a list of all the kids of this person.
Wow.
For instance, this person has, I can see from here, like 7 kids. You see there brothers and sisters. This panel, you can see the brothers and sisters of this person, and there are also the kids of this person. And every number, which is, we conceal the numbers because they reveal the personal data of this person, but every number that you click, the ID number, generates this whole process from the beginning, and then you get to see the details of the new person that you have been looking for. So the application is built in a sense, the user experience is like surfing the web. You just surf from one person to another endlessly. And so either you search or you surf. This is another interesting feature of the application. It's just like a bookmarking mechanism that allows you, while surfing, to click on interesting records and move them into a temporary list. And in this list, you can see together the Prime Minister of Israel, the head of the security services, one of the Israelis' top billionaires, the ex-wife of one of Israel's top billionaires, one of the heads of the organized crime in Israel, people that may be interesting to someone for some reason or another. By the way, the personal records that I showed you before, this one relates to one of the heads of the organizational crime in Israel that was assassinated 2 years ago after this product went out, and I'll say no more, maybe it's related. So the summary so far is that the National Population Registry is made public. As you know, for us Israelis, the distance between what we think and what we say is close to 0. So immediately this generates a massive wave of criticism all across by the state controller, by the press, by the media, by Knesset members, and by civilians that suddenly understand that their privacy has been breached beyond repair. The Ministry of Interior that learns about this phenomena from the breach notification that was made public through the website of ARI files a complaint, and police investigates and closes the file within a month or two. The police is incapable of finding any findings because they say there are too many potentials and the file could have been leaked from too many places, so they close the file, and this ends the investigation. Of course, Ari is very happy about it, and this proves his point that the company, that the country or the state is incompetent of defending its own citizens. There are immense damages like forgery, fraud, identity thefts, all kinds of marketing schemes that address people according to their personal details. Of course, national and the homeland security issue. The skill set of the people in the Enforcement Department, Mili was brought by Yoram from the Antitrust Authority. She was a senior investigator for 10 years. And Mili starts hiring. She hires myself. I'm an information architect. She hires an ex-police prosecutor. She hires additional 2 people who have a dual background in both technology and law. And we also have a forensic laboratory manager, which is a expertise are down to the beat. He knows everything which relates to all the technical aspects of setting machines, etc. So Mili promotes an agenda of there is no enforcement, there is no regulation without enforcement, and we all advocate for investigative powers to serve the enforcement array of ILITA and to service the regulation principles and tasks. As the start of the case, how we solved the case, it started. We focused on two points. The first one is where the database is coming from, and for this purpose, we had to take the data, load the data into SQL servers, and start checking for anomalies and start checking for the most recent update points, such as when was the most recent update inserted into the database. And this allowed us to focus on the specific time where the update, where the last update was made. And for this purpose, we mapped the entire infrastructure of the Ministry of Interior to understand the entire information flow of where the information is coming from, how it's being processed, and who are the users of this information, how it's being disseminated, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, we had to try and find some leads to the people who might have been involved in this case. So for this task, we operate all sorts of investigative actions. We do web intelligence, we do open source intelligence, we have some human intelligence of people that we ask. Maybe some of them knows somebody who might be related to this vertical business of managing personal databases and programs and so on. And we have a lead from someone who says that he knows somebody in this industry, but he doesn't reveal any details about the specific person. So this is when the telecommunication data gets into the picture, and we use it for getting additional details about potential people who are involved. We analyze the output and the logs of the telecommunication of this person, and we get to the first person in the affair. This guy is referred to us as the personal data collector. He seems to be a compulsive collector of databases. When we go and search at his house, we find hundreds of millions of personal data records from all kinds of sources and databases. He seems to be a technician that every place he goes to fix something, he takes a copy of the database and search for personal data that may be helpful in generating or creating a software that searches personal data. When we get this guy, we file for warrants, we issue warrants and analyze his own output, and then we get to another 2 figures in the chain of events. One is the programmer, who received the data of this data collector, and the other one is the broker who actually gave the database to this data collector. The data also allows us to pinpoint the time and the place of where things happen, and only from analyzing the telecommunication environment and going through this research, we get the time and place and key participants that took part in this chain of events. We, of course, complete the picture with additional data that we get from the rest of our investigation activity, and this is what we come up with. This is actually what happened. As Yoram said, the data comes from the Ministry of Interior. The Ministry of Interior daily collects data from its branches nationwide, processes the data, and then this data is actually the mother of all databases, because the Israeli ID is used for verification and authentications all across the system. If you buy a house, if you sign a contract, if you want to get an ISP server or anything, you always provide your identification number. There are many clients to this information. Some clients can approach the data or query the data online, and some need a complete version of the data. So the Ministry of Interior creates a copy of the data to those customers who need the data, such as the government authorities, such as the Ministry of Finance, the Social Security, etc. And one of these copies is transferred to the Ministry of Welfare. The Ministry of Welfare manages its own local copy of the database, which is obviously identical to the original one. And the person who is handling and managing this database, the DBA, or the database administrator, is then an outsourced employee of a professional services subcontractor. This means that he's responsible for receiving the files, for defining all the tables, for getting the updates, and actually maintaining this identical copy of the database within the Ministry of Welfare. When we go to the Ministry of Welfare and we speak to them, we realize that there is no obligation that prevents professional services outsourced employees to be engaged in other programs and projects. So the thief turns out to be having or being engaged in some other projects outside his work, and one of his clients is managing an application or needs a CRM application for donation management, which is very relevant to the population of Israel, which consists of all the potential donators. So the thief, in order to get the project, he says, I will give you a copy of the registration of the database, which may be very useful for your purposes. So the guy who manages the IT in the client and where the database is left, sees the database, looks at the details, and realizes that it has many uses and it's very valuable. He converts the database from SQL to Access and burns several copies of the Access on CDs and starts giving it to some family and friends. The database weighs like 2 gigabytes, so it's pretty small. One of the people that the data is given to is a friend of this IT guy, which happens to be to have very keen senses of business senses. And he realizes that the database is a valuable thing. He goes and searches for potential customers for the database, and then he locates our friend, the personal data collector, which we first knew about from the analysis of the telecommunication output. So the entire database, consisting of 9.2 million records of the entire Israeli population, is being sold to the personal data collector for less than $800. From there, the personal data collector happens to have a friend who share this interest of programming software that enabled searching the database of personal data. And this guy built a state-of-the-art program with a very powerful search engines that I've shown you before. In the interrogation room, this programmer, which happens to be an Orthodox rabbi with a unique set of skills, with interest in algo trading, and a very, very interesting person. He says that he was playing with in his own backyard, but the ball was kicked out of the court. So, and then he realizes that the ball, meaning the database, has life of its own, but unfortunately he cannot lead us to any of the other recipients or any of the other people who had access to the ball once it left its own court. So this actually ends the chain of that we have revealed, but we're still left with the key figure, the main figure of the event, which is the publisher, the person, Ari, that I've shown you in the beginning, who took the database and uploaded the database into the internet and launched this website with all the information with regards to how good this program, this software is, and this actually we have to discover Ari. So now we focus on Ari and try to reveal ways to reveal his identity. Just a few words about Ari and what he did in terms of disseminating the data. First, he launches the website, then he uploads the software to all kinds of hosting services. He publishes links from his website to the hosting services, and then comes the first wave of people who download the software and install the software on their local PCs. Now, once the breach notification reaches the police and the enforcement bodies hear about the breach notification, they start looking for him, and this software is classified as is blacklisted, so the links start to break. And then Ari tells all his friends that already downloaded the software. He requests that they upload the software to other web hosting services and send him the links that point to all these hosting services. And then he also publishes in the website, whoever wants a live copy of the software, please email me and I will send you the link. So he has like tens of links that are being constantly uploaded and wander around from one hosting service to another hosting service, and he sends the link to new people who want a copy of this software, and they download the software. The last thing he does is he promotes the use of file sharing software and asks people to save a copy of the software in their own C drives and then start sharing the software through programs and like Inu. And practically this is the result of his action. We see copies of the database and copies of the software all over the place, and we cannot control them anymore. A few words about Ari himself, which is very interesting because he's a typical, he can be referred as a typical criminal in the IT crimes that we are investigating. And all this analysis is based on the manuscripts and about what he actually was stolen from the Ministry of Interior. He knows that his actions are actually criminal activity. He has this strong implication about his mens rea. He's familiar with the relevant laws and regulators. He refers specifically to Yoram in one of his posts, and you will see it later. He discusses privacy. He discusses Privacy Act. He discusses its breach. He is fully aware of the sanctions of breaching this law. He's fully aware of the law. And as I showed you before, this is a continuous act. He's active for several years. Although he goes underground, he keeps sending the links, and he keeps communicating with the people which are interested in this piece of software. in order to make sure that this software does not fade away or evaporate or disappear in any way. In his website, he's hiding all the time, and he electively select to remain behind the anonymous figure, virtual identity. He works alone. Nobody knows about what he's doing, and he says it himself that it's nearly impossible to trace him because nobody knows what he does, and there are maybe 2 or 3 people which are aware of what he does, and it will take us massive social engineering efforts to get to him. He leaves no footprints behind. He's a very high-profile technologist who is fully aware of every action that he takes. So he uses proxy servers to hide behind fake IP addresses, and he uses open Wi-Fi networks, so whenever he leaves footprints behind him in the form of IP addresses, they turn out to be IP addresses in Japan, in Canada, or sometimes even in Israel. But one time we went to a family because the IP address was pointing to this family, but it turns out that they had an open Wi-Fi device which was on the first floor facing the street, and underneath the street there is a bench. So he was sitting there using the Wi-Fi network to do his stuff. He is fully aware of the international regimes regarding the how to get to details to IP addresses. He uses 3 Gmail accounts, and he explicitly says in his manuscripts that it will be impossible to get the contents of the mailboxes because every time he uses the mailboxes to contact and communicate with his users, he enters the mailboxes through proxy servers that will provide IP addresses from either Canada or Japan. And when we issue a warrant and give it to Google, requesting them to provide information that may lead to a breakthrough, they say, we checked all the mailboxes and there is no relationship whatsoever to Israel, so we can't provide you with the information. Ari deliberately deletes all the evidence from his computer using deep freeze tools and similar programs and software. He's impersonating to a minor in an attempt to get the police forces and the people who are after him get the impression that he is not legally liable, and so all the time he says, I'm a minor, I'm 13, so to get them off this case. And he's heavily and massively engaged in this viral distribution network that I've shown you before. And obviously he's being hiding. So this is actually the breakthrough in the case. Ari didn't left any footprints behind him, and we've been constantly looking for leads, and we always got to fake IP addresses and actually didn't have anything in hand. Ari was had an obsession about the impact of his wrongdoings. So whenever the public reacted to what he did, whether in the media, in the forums, and on TV, he used to update his updates page in the website and say, look at me, I'm famous, the software is #1 in Google search, and then he posts a picture of Google Web as the search engine with his piece of software at the first place. And one of the comments that he makes is, if I translate, it says something like, by the way, a remark to the regulator, Yoram Hacohen, and a link to his picture, and this specific picture, and then something like, look at me, catch me if you can. Okay? So we are asking ourselves, what is so special about this picture? And why did he choose this specific picture, which happens to appear in several places over the internet? But why this specific one? There are over 8,000 pictures of Yoram Hacohen, and he chosen this specific one. So at this phase, we don't really understand the meaning of this. But the breakthrough is, one day we are sitting together, Yoram, Mili, and myself, and we're asking Yoram about this picture. Where is it coming from? Is it from an image bank? Is it from an archive? where was it first published? And then Yoram tells us this is not a picture, and the original format of this file is a video file, because this is actually taken from a TV coverage of the affair. Right after the breach notification or the website was published, Yoram gave an interview to Channel 2 in the Israeli TV. And then we immediately realized that Ari actually took a snapshot out of this video and created the image, so he must be the owners of the image. And then we start looking for where the image is. It turns out that the image was uploaded to a website called ImageCheck, which is a web hosting service for pictures, and it was done anonymously. So we know Ari already, and we understand that he must have presumed that since he does things anonymously, then the application supporting this web services will not keep or maintain any redundant data as to where the file was uploaded or from which IP. So we address ImageCheck and we ask them for the details, and the first thing they tell us is that it was an anonymous user, therefore they have a missing data. But we investigate further, and we ask them which servers they use, and it turns out that they're using a Linux server, and then we ask for the logs of the Linux server, and then we get this snapshot which says that the specific picture with the specific ID was uploaded from a specific IP address at a specific time frame, timestamp. And then we take this IP address and we look at it, and this is the first time after 4 years that there is a connection between Ari, the virtual Ari, and something physical which resides in Israel. So the IP address seems to lead to a small print shop which resides less than 1 kilometer away from the Binyanei Ha'uma, the conference center was the previous data protection conference was held. And it leads to a small print shop. I go visit the owners and we talk, and I realize that there are 2 technicians that are employed and help him maintain the computers and software over there. One of them, which is referred here as M, has free access to the print shop, and he visits the print shop quite often in very unusual hours. So this is actually the strongest lead that we have. We collect like additional information of who this guy is, and try to understand who he is, and try to think of ways to meet with him and to interrogate him. This is where we actually address Ari M, this guy. He shows up for a meeting, and then he starts explaining about all his technical skills and about his technical abilities. And this was just to ensure that this guy will confess or admit that he does have technical capabilities, because if in the interrogation he chooses not to speak or anything like this, we know that we have the right guy. So in the meeting he explains what he does. He does keyloggers, he does all kinds of web hacking and reverse engineering and stuff like that. We bring him to the interrogation room, and he follows the advice of his lawyer, and he doesn't cooperate, and he remains silent. But after we take him, we have like four search scenes, one at his parents' house, one at the dorms where he lives, one in the academic institution where he studies, and one at the print shop itself. We take all the computers back to the laboratory, and we copy them, and we investigate them, and we look for evidence, and we find amazing evidence that prove beyond doubt that this Ari guy is actually the M that we have. So, but for this to happen, this summarizes the whole investigation. We had to take a lot of devices and a lot of media and analyze, and in order to get like a couple of good evidence. Frankly, it's not a couple, it's hundreds of documents and databases, and records, but just to get to know to the procedure that we're doing in order to get this evidence, we first go to the search scenes, we take the computers, we take the media, we copy every media that we take, we put the original in the safe, we make another copy, and then we start studying the copy through special software like NCase or forensic evidence finders. And then if we find databases, we copy the databases, we upload them to SQL servers and try to understand the data inside, we compare databases. This enables us to understand the chain of events. So in terms of storage, we had like 25 desktops, 13 laptops, 45 hard drives, 111 external drives, over 3,000 CDs, 15 USB drives. The amount of information that we received is equal 35 terabytes of information, copying, analyzing, uploading to databases, etc., etc. In terms of telecommunications, the slide that I've shown you like 20 minutes ago, we had to analyze over 135,000 phone calls in order to match and identify the links in the chain. So that's about it. I'll end the microphone to Yoram. Probably have some questions.
Well, as you may understand, it's very non-typical action by a data protection authority. But I think that the outcome, first of all, it was very important to find the offenders in that case, because the damage is unbelievable. Privacy, fraud, aspects of national security, whatever. When we went out with that last week, the media coverage that we got for this case was unbelievable. And you see the actual implication. I can tell you that there was a discussion in the parliament two days ago about the case in the Committee of Interior, and they were saying to us, what do you need? Do you need more powers? Do you need more money? Just tell us and we will, but these are politicians. In the end, it has effect, and it has effect also on the market. It also has effect directly now on our work vis-a-vis government offices, because as a regulator, we are giving instructions and specific instructions for specific offices that are relevant. It's not that we were not doing it before, but after you come with this kind of case, then generally everyone treats you differently, totally differently. As you have seen, there are aspects of international cooperation that we think that data protection authorities could help each other in solving those cases. For instance, this database still exists in the internet, and there are some hosting services that we need to ask them to remove. So it involves some legal procedures that assistance from a relevant or sister data protection authority can help a lot. And it also raises a question, which is not a question to this forum, but was a question for the closed session, about criminal, what is the advantage, or is there an advantage of a data protection authority having criminal investigation powers in the scope that we saw here? No question that forensics is an expertise which is very important in order to solve those kind of cases. And something about the staff of ILITA who made this breakthrough, so it was really a matter of passion and devotion and enthusiasm, and we had some luck. And it seems that it's very difficult to do the perfect crime. The guy was very close to have the perfect crime in this aspect, but we managed to find a small hole and to go into it. Now, to summarize, and I refer to it today on the data security panel, it's not a trivial issue for a data protection authority to operate those kind of powers, which basically are infringing privacy. So if we are analyzing communication data, we are infringing privacy. If we do search and seizure in the premises of our suspects, we infringe privacy. We were doing it in order to protect privacy, and it's a very non-trivial balance specifically for data protection authorities. And I was very much, and the enforcement guys know that, I was very much aware and was keeping the point that the balance between using those powers and privacy will be kept in a way that we think that also other police forces should do it. But this is a very delicate issue. But we think that in the end, it was worth the privacy infringement that we made, and we made. Okay, you do it in a criminal investigation. This is one of the things that you do. Everything was under court orders, everything. But the basic idea, it's not a easy feeling to browse communication data of suspects and to try and find those kind of links. The purpose was good, I think. So if you have questions, we are waiting.